This is the Teaching Bites Podcast, episode 17.
Welcome to the Teaching Bites Podcast, our unprofessional development resource to take your teaching to the next level. Here are your hosts, Fred and Sharon Jaravada.
On this episode, we're bringing you something totally different. We have our first interview. We interview a very good friend of ours, Elena Neufeld. Now, Elena has taught for several years and is now taking some time off, taking care of her 3 beautiful children. And we catch up with her and her family in their beautiful home. Now, you're going to hear her children and our children playing together, running around in the background, probably even crying. It was a spur-of-the-moment thing, and it wasn't the best recording situation, but Elena was very kind enough to be our first guest, and she shares some really good insights in her teaching experience. You will probably, and most likely, can relate to her insights. So sit back, enjoy, and see you on the other side.
Elena, thank you. Welcome to our show, and thank you for being with us today. We're so excited to interview you.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Yeah, so can you please give us a brief introduction of yourself, personal and professional?
Sure. My name is Elena, and I worked with Fred for a number of years in teaching. I started off teaching in a 3rd grade classroom for a few years, about 4 years, and then I actually moved up in the world to the big kids, the 7th and 8th graders. I taught science for another 3 years. Currently, I'm at home with my little munchkins. I have a 5-year-old son, a 3-year-old daughter, and also a 1.5-year-old daughter. So taking a little break while I raise them.
Right, that's cool.
Yeah.
So one thing that's really cool is that Elena and we also went to the credential program at the University of San Francisco, and this is where she and our other cohort members were able to remind me when to do homework and when homework was due. So it's pretty cool. Remember that?
That was a while ago, but yes, I do remember
and also when to apply for graduation. That was very important.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know when we were graduating, but they reminded me. So making sure, did you order your gown yet? Like, I don't, what's gown? What?
We all worked together. It was fun, actually, being with that group of people. A little family within work.
So if you guys don't know already, well, I'm going to tell you guys that Elena is definitely one of the best teachers that came to our school and I worked with ever, and that she always brought a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of great passion. So that's why we invited you today to share some thoughts on how you do things, and we're here actually visiting you in your home, and that's why you'll hear a lot of the kids running around the back room, in the back, and you'll hear the basketball game running also, because so we're just here visiting Elena and her family in their wonderful home.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. Those were nice words, Fred. Thank you.
Yep. And so thank you for that. And also a question I have for you is, what is your favorite quote and why?
That's pretty deep, Sharon.
Yeah, you know how we are.
Well, I think really in my professional and personal life, one quote that has stood out for quite some time, even I think as a teenager, it had to deal with worry, because I think that's something every person experiences. And the quote goes, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. And I think that reminds me to take every step day by day and not worry about, okay, I have this big project coming up. I need to get this done, this done, this done. And that's true. There's a lot of things that need to get completed, but you have to start somewhere. And once you get started, it really, it takes care of itself. It just kind of snowballs and more people can jump on your project bandwagon. So don't worry too much.
That's a good quote.
It doesn't do anything. It's not productive, right?
So you mean like living in the now?
Yeah, living in the absolutely. You have to live in the now and be flexible, because change is going to happen. And if you worry about what could happen, you're not solving anything. You're not preparing for anything. You're just wasting anxiety and where you could be putting your energy towards something else, something productive.
True. Because, I mean, I think everyone does worry to some extent, but when you're overly worried, then you can't. And since you're a mom, and I'm a mom too, what are you going to do? The kids are like, I need some food.
I know.
Change my diaper. But I need to worry about next year. No.
No.
Yeah, that's true.
We just take care of what you can, and then that's the best you can do. That's the best anybody can ask for is, do what you can, and what you can't do, either accept or ask for help. I think that was a big thing in teaching and also personal life. You don't have to be the best at anything. That's why you have colleagues like Fred can do it, help you through it.
Well, I mean, it takes a village.
Absolutely.
Right? In our personal and professional life. You can't do it on your own. I think that's when you have to get over the fact that, we all want to do our best. We all want to do well. But then you're just one person with two hands.
Exactly.
So we have to remember that we have to bring our pride down. So be like, hey, reach out, I need help.
Absolutely.
So very important.
Yeah, especially since our family isn't in town. Professionally, yes, you have your colleagues that you can go to, but also we found that moving to our new home in this neighborhood, putting yourself out there to other neighbors, it's amazing the response that we've had coming back. And you're like, all right, I feel settled. I don't have to worry about X, Y, and Z because I have great people who will pick me up when I need it.
Yeah, good. Very good. Okay, so on to the next question. What are the hardest parts or the challenges of teaching and why? And then how did you overcome it? And if you didn't, looking back now, what would you have done or what should you do?
Yeah, teaching. It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. So I think...
Yeah, we don't just grade papers all the time, everybody.
The whole idea, whenever I hear someone say, oh yeah, teaching is nice, you work from 8 to 4, I just smile and say, yes, I do. And I also work from 6 to 8 and from 4 to 10 and so on and so forth. But for me, the hardest part of challenging part of teaching rather is getting to know the students on a level that's meaningful. And I think it's so important to build rapport with your students at the beginning and unmasking those different layers, not only their learning styles, I think that's incredibly important, but knowing who they are as a person. When you get down on that level, you get to know them in a way that's personal, and you can know their interests, their likes, their dislikes, and then the teaching part becomes easy because you can say, hey, remember when I saw you at your soccer game? That was really cool. Here's how you could, help with math if you did this or that, or angles even. There's so much that you could bring into the classroom once you know them on a personal level. And looking back, I think the hardest thing for me was giving up control in my classroom and giving space and time to knowing the kids on a personal level. You hear the drive of, okay, testing, standards,
true.
Things that you have to, with quotation marks, get done on time. And like, really, what the kids need is a person that they can trust and that they hope they can learn from. And as a parent, that's what I would want for my kid, is someone they feel comfortable enough talking to and asking questions and hopefully learning something.
And like listening. They want someone to listen to.
Yeah. It's amazing. I used to start my class with, on Monday mornings, just a quick recap and saying, tell me about your weekend. And I wish I had started that with my younger students because they have a lot to tell you. And that doesn't mean, make them go on and on. Think of one really great thing that you can tell me that you did over the weekend. And you learn a lot about kids pretty quickly.
Yeah, actually, I do the same thing. I do a weekend writing prompt. What'd you do over the weekend? Or if it's like a spring break, because they always want to talk about what they did.
Right.
And we don't have time to always have everyone just have this big conversation. So having them write about it has them like think about their answer, and then they share with other kids about what they did, and it just lets them release that.
Right. I can remember wanting to tell my teacher probably too much, and you're right. Kids need an outlet and an ear, and I think we have two of them, so you might as well listen to what they have to say.
Yeah.
In allowing for space, challenging was giving up time to do important things like that. And I think in the long run, it really pays off.
True, very true. I mean, it's true. We have a lot of standards we have to reach and testing. Like for me, I'm testing in 2 weeks.
Oh man.
And it's not really the test. It's just it's the test of the test.
Mm-hmm.
They're just figuring it out online on the SBAC.
Oh boy.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm not pressured to teach all the content, but it's still like something that's built in and that you have to get serious about. Because I teach 3rd grade, and this is their first year they're taking it online. So it's a big deal. Yeah, they're getting like, about it. But when it comes down to it, it's the important part, right? Like, what's the heart of everything?
Right.
You know? So that's a good reminder for me to take the time. Because I do walk around every morning and say, hey, what happened over the weekend? Or give me something funny.
Right.
Or exciting that happened. They're like, you're asking me that?
I know. Well,
Anyway,
and I think it's really important for us to share about our personal life, so they see that, oh yeah, my teacher goes grocery shopping too. You know, what was your favorite part of the weekend? I really enjoy Costco. Like, wandering the aisles and getting the samples, and that I think that humanizes the whole teaching process for them as well.
True, because they don't think you live under the table at your desk.
I know. I had one student one time. She goes, "You mean you don't sleep at school?" No, dear, I don't.
Maybe sometimes I just set up a sleeping bag under my desk just to trick them. You know.
When they're at recess, what'd you do? I just took a cat nap.
No. All right. So, you obviously were a really great teacher, and I was wondering, when did you get that moment in your life where you're like, I have to do this job. I have to teach. This is my calling.
Oh, that's a
Remember
great
that
question.
moment?
Yeah, actually, I do vividly, because I think it was a pivotal point, a turning point in my life. I went to undergrad thinking I was going into physical therapy. So I have a degree similar to Fred in exercise.
Just like mine, exercise, sports, science, right? It was just like maybe 10, 12 years apart.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Right. So I have a science background, and that's what I was thinking. I want to go in and see results. I want to see people who need help, one, and who can make progress and eventually accomplish a goal. So that was my thinking. And then I had the great opportunity to go to Belize on a service trip my junior year of school. Really enjoyed it. And luckily I was asked back my senior year of college to be one of the student leaders. And then during that trip, it was the most surreal moment in the whole world. We were paddling in canoes out on the Caribbean. Most stars I've ever seen in my life. Thinking, this is awesome, one. And two, why am I not doing this with my life? You know, helping kids. It was a service project in terms of teaching. We went into a small school in Belize, helping the kids run a camp, and then working with the teachers there and providing them with some support in terms of supplies, basic things like notebooks and pencils, and even for us, it would be outdated textbooks, but something that they could read. The kids were so hungry for knowledge and so appreciative. And I thought, one, this is so cool. We're in Belize, but also this is amazing. Look how much progress these kids have made in a week. And those smiling faces just stayed with me forever. So I thought, okay, once I get back, this is spring semester of my senior year of college. And I thought, oh, I want to teach. I have to teach. This is my calling. So I had the support of one of my leaders on the group project. And I said, do you know of anywhere? I don't obviously have a teaching background, but I think this is what I'm supposed to do. And luckily I was able to get in contact with a school, and the rest is history, really.
It's our school, yeah, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's where you started.
I know.
Oh.
It's amazing.
So senior year in the second semester, you didn't really know until teaching. Oh, wow.
Well, I was looking into grad programs for physical therapy, and I think part of it was just because it was comfortable. This is the natural next step. But back in my mind, there was always a little voice saying, maybe you should check out teaching. This is where you're supposed to be. So I was like, oh, that's great. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to go on those trips, and I'm very fortunate to where I ended up. I love it.
Right.
Okay,
So,
before we move on, though, you were on Jeopardy, right?
No, I was on Hollywood Squares.
Oh, you're Hollywood Squares.
how did you get on that show?
Yeah, I was. I had a great time in college, and that was one of the opportunities. They came to our school, USF, for tryouts, and so I thought, hey, I'm not doing anything. Let's go try out. And it was fun. Freshman year.
Wow.
You can add that to my resume.
Yeah.
Game show contestant.
So do you have any do you have any family or friends that are teachers? Is that kind of like maybe one aspect, or it just was purely that trip that inspired you?
My aunt, who I really admire, she actually teaches immigrant children in the Seattle area. So people who come in and don't necessarily speak English, she works with them. And I have another aunt who helped my brother. She actually taught my brother first grade when he had difficulty with reading. And although I knew what their professions were and I admire them, really it was the Belize trip that sort of sparked. I did ask my aunt, though, for some help when I went in to interview for the first time. I don't know. They want me to read a story. Is that all I do? Should I do something else? She was a great mentor. So
that's great.
Yeah. Walked me through the whole
That's awesome.
process.
So it helps to have like someone, personally to help you on that side.
Absolutely. Well, they're invested in you as a person. And so, of course, they want the best for you in your career as well.
All right. So, as a parent now to 3 children, what are you looking for in a teacher, and how does it affect your own thoughts as a teacher?
That is the trippiest thing, to be on the other side of the parent-teacher conference.
I agree.
Did you do those this year? That's amazing. It's crazy. What I'm looking for as a teacher is really someone that knows my children, knows my son and daughters, and realizes the gifts that they have in terms of bringing to the classroom and having them expand on that and not trying to put them in a box or teach one certain way. And I have to take a step back and realize, okay, each teacher has their own style of teaching, just like each student has their own way of learning. And I really want to see a teacher that's passionate about teaching. It's not a job for them. This is really a calling to teach. So I really just... I'm excited for what's to come, and I'm a little nervous because as much as I love teaching, and there are a lot of good teachers out there, I know, oh man, you can't jive with everyone.
No. And, makes the kids more resilient in a way, and they could learn different styles and different, about different people.
Right, exactly. And I have to remind myself that as a teacher, a former teacher, and as a parent, and remind other colleagues and parents too that are in my child's class, like, it's, think of it as from the teacher's perspective. I tend to side with the teachers first. Just that's my nature. I'm like, let's think of the teachers.
Yeah,
and then I go, okay, I know. And I have to be very careful what I'm saying. But I just really want someone that's passionate, who knows our children. Yeah,
I feel like the academics will get there. It's always, but it's about the teaching them like life skills, like social skills. Especially our kids are kindergarten age. It's so important,
right?
To get that down.
Yeah, I think life skills is really important. And I think I'm looking for a teacher that's adaptable as well. There are really exciting things happening in the teaching world right now, and the resources that we have available. I really want someone that's able to perhaps even try out a new teaching style or try out a new technology. Even if it bombs, at least they tried. And and it shows, hey, things might bomb 10 times in a row, but if you get something that works for you and it works for the kids, good for you. Expose them to something they might not have seen before. True.
And that means that teachers continue to learn.
Absolutely. Big advocate for lifelong learning.
Right. Okay. So, do you have any favorite teacher books or movies or websites and resources? And why do you like those?
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I think again that talking about being fluid in teaching is important. So staying current is probably something that I would look for in teaching. We taught physics in 8th grade, and John Mayer's song Gravity was really popular at the time. At that time. And I thought, okay, let's take something that the kids are already listening to, they're already familiar with, and let's showcase it in a new light that highlights teaching physics. And if you listen to the lyrics, although, it's pretty surface level physics, but that's, intro physics to begin with. You put it together with... oh gosh, what did I do? It was almost like a slideshow movie type production, but it was really cool. It was current to them, and I put it up on our homework site so kids watched it over and over again, and they were able to reference it, which was pretty neat.
That's cool. Wow.
It was cool.
That's a great idea.
It was funny. I didn't think it would be that popular, but I'm glad it helped the kids learn.
Yeah.
But I mean, just staying current, so you're not the dinosaur in the back of the classroom.
Yeah. And it's that prior knowledge. Mm-hmm. It's already, you don't have to fill them in on all this other things. It saves time.
Right.
You know?
Again, it goes back to, do you know your students on a personal level?
Right. Okay, if there's anything in teaching you want to learn more about, a new tool or a new way of teaching, they've always wanted to explore more, but you don't have the time, what would that be?
Yeah.
It's a big question.
I know, it's a big question. And thinking about it, there's so much. I love learning. I joke with my husband all the time. I said, I'm going to be a permanent student. I love going to class. I just don't like the homework part. But, I mean, what student does? I think what I really would want them to learn the technology that's coming out and changing rapidly. I feel like since I've been out of the classroom for a year or so, I feel like I'm missing something. I would really love to dive in and get to know that, the different technologies that are out there now and programs kids are using for real life applications. I'd also really like to learn to read. I know this is going to sound totally nerdy. Don't laugh at me. I really want to learn and read more journal articles on teaching. Mm-hmm. I think that has to go with background knowledge. And I mean, who has the time to sit down and read a full article?
Such a nerd.
I know. I love reading. I like that technical jargon. I think it's the math science brain part of me that really wants to know the why behind education. Why do students learn this way, not that way? What is it about the brain that makes kids want to learn? I think that background information is so vital because then it can help shape your teaching practices. Once you learn how kids learn, you can, and why kids learn, you can move forward.
True. So like theories or like the studies they've done, you mean?
Right. I read this fascinating book and it had to deal with how kids acquire language and at what point they are acquiring language. And I thought that is amazing. And and I wanted to share it, and it didn't come out quite the same way as when it came into my brain reading. And I thought, oh, what a cool way if I could get this out to, first grade teachers that are learning, teaching kids how to read, if they could teach them how to read the same way they acquire language orally. Does that work? Does it not work? But just learning the research behind it, I mean, I guess it's a starting point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the new stuff, keeping up with what's going on.
Yeah, keeping up with I like reading the technical jargon sometimes.
Because, I mean, when we went to Toronto school, they teach you about, like, Piaget, Vygotsky, and all those people. But that's, like, way back.
I know.
Which is fine. I mean, they're still valid today.
Yeah.
But how about the new people? Like, what's going on and,
Right. Well, even if you think about the different researching techniques that they have now, if you think of functional MRIs and, actually seeing the brain light up when their response to certain stimuli, it's fascinating. And I think part of me wants to just read all of it, and I know I can't because I have 3 little babies running around, and dinner has to get made.
Get the Cliff Notes for it.
I know, what's the Cliff Notes version?
Yeah.
But leave out, tell me the good stuff. So
yeah,
I would like that.
That's
if
cool.
I could learn more.
Very cool. Maybe you could summarize them for us when you read it for all the teachers out there. It could be the Elena notes.
Yeah, the Elena notes. Here's the fun fact for the day.
Yeah. And, okay, so finally, what is the best teaching advice you've ever received?
The best teaching advice that I've ever received, I would have to say with, just do your best and realize that enough is enough. I think I'm the type of person that would want to do more. One, because I wanted to show my best self, but also because I think I'm capable. And I would always want to say yes, and look what else I can do. But just realizing that there's a balance, enough is enough. You need to be a mom, you need to be a wife, you need to be a colleague, a friend. You have so many hats to wear, and I'm realizing there's balance. Enough is enough. Do your best, but realizing when to step back and say, you know what? You did well. We'll just leave it at that.
And you just go day by day, too, in the sense from what you were saying, being the moment. and not worrying about the future way too much.
Yeah.
You know?
Because what I would get stuck on is saying that, I have only 10 months with these students. I want to give them the world and expose them to all sorts of interesting ideas and thoughts. But the reality is their school career, kindergarten, 12th through 12th grade, and then you have college, and then some probably graduate school, and then maybe some go on to fellowships. And even though you have them for 10 months, which seems like a long period of time, if you give them the foundations, their whole school career is a long time. And you know what? Enough is enough. They're going to learn how to divide again in 5th grade. That's
true.
okay.
It will come. But I feel the same way too. It's like it's like they're like your babies, and you don't want to let them go.
I know. Except when spring rolls around and chaos
come
happens.
on, guys.
No,
countdown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So
speaking of which, babies, we got babies to take care of.
yeah, I think they're like trying to get our attention, and we're gonna get them. Where's my mom?
I know, mom.
But yeah, thank you so much, Elena, for joining us in this episode. Really, really appreciate it. You're our first interview we've had on this show.
Thank you.
And it's been so exciting
honored
to talk to you about teaching. I mean, I've seen you teach. We've hung out in social situations, but just hearing about your experiences and your insight has been really inspiring to me, and hopefully our listeners as well.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I think you guys are great, and I hope somebody got something out of listening to what I had to say today.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Teaching Bites podcast at www.teachingbites.com.